that admission. And because Gaddafi dressed up as a woman, therefore it was okay for us to bomb Libya and kill his baby daughter. Because the folks in Waco believed strange things and collected a few guns, then it was all right for us to go in and kill their children, burn them up. You know, we're the ones who brought that apocalypse down. Straight society brought down that apocalypse in Waco. They didn't do it. They believed it was going to happen, and by God, they were right. You know, that was just that was planned from beginning to end, in my opinion. I think Clinton wanted a Holocaust, and he got it, and it wasn't enough for him, so he bombed Baghdad again. This man is more evil than this man is more evil than Bush. Give me a break. This is every step we take is a step down into the abyss in American politics. This Clinton is a devil. It really is, man. It worries, it disturbs me greatly because I see all these liberals who voted for him, they're still clinging to the idea that, well, because he's a baby boomer, you know, because he once smoked pot but didn't inhale, he's one of us, you know, everything's going to be all right. Oh, hey, gays in the military, great. Women, we have a woman as top cop. How does that make you feel? Does it make you feel warm and cozy? To have a woman press the button on 20 children in Texas and burn them to a crisp? I wouldn't feel so good about it. You know, I don't think that's power. That's not empowering. That's like, okay, you can join the oppressor class. You know? This is not what I thought the struggle was about. Hey, tragedy? That's tragedy. That's tragedy. We haven't seen anything like that since Sophocles.
When pop culture uses the term Babylon, which is primarily, I guess, it's stolen from the Rastafarians or whatever.
That's where I got it. That's the way I use the word.
Okay, what is the analogy between Babylon as it is today? And
Babylon was the first great agricultural state. It was the first totalitarian state. And the Rastas are not only metaphorically right, they're historically correct. It all started in not Babylon actually, but pre-Babylonian Mesopotamian culture, culminated the High Neolithic in Babylon. This was the state of the pyramids with the human sacrifices at the top, just like the Aztecs. You know? Pyramid of society, pyramid of the universe, cruelty as the source of all energy. And the Rastas see this very, very clearly. You know? I call history the long Babylonian con. Because we're all still acting out the myth of Marduk. And I suggest you all go read it and find out what's at the roots of our society, the Enuma Elish, the creation myth of the Babylonians. I think this is how it's spelled, probably. Stand here somewhere. Enuma Elish. Or Gilgamesh. Actually, Gilgamesh is also worth reading in this respect. But it's all so clear here. It's like laid out. And I mean, they were a little less sophisticated about their propaganda in those days. It's like laid out perfectly. If you read it from the point of view that I've been trying to transmit, you'll see what I mean immediately. This is the origin myth for civilization.
It's interesting what you said about television, because how it's become the purveyor of symbol. But even more than that, it's become a mechanism in which symbol or imagination can't even arise because of the
Cannot
in us watching those boxes, because of the mechanical, physiological impact on the brain.
Yeah.
Just the breaking into little bits where you can't even feel, let alone imagine.
That's very true and important. But I use the concept of what I call imaginal quanta in media. By this, you'll see what I mean if you get a chance to read the text. What I mean to say is that each medium demands a different level of participation from the audience. So, for example, if you go back to hunter-gatherer music and dance, theater, music, it's all one and the same thing, actually. Ritual, it's all the same thing. You get, for example, amongst the pygmies, complete participation. All this art is created collectively by the tribe. And everyone is equally performer and audience. There's no separation. If you take the next step, let's say, let's leap forward to the typical art form of pastoral society, which is the epic. The epic rhapsodist is someone who still demands a great deal of active participation from his or her hearers. These are usually bare genealogical reports with an occasional adventure thrown in, but I mean, the listeners around the campfire have to visualize the whole thing. They have to internalize this narrative and realize it in themselves. So they're actually participating in a very vivid way. And furthermore, it's well known that everyone in a pre-literate society has actually memorized huge chunks of this material. This is true even till today in civilized countries like Iran, for example, where I lived for a long time and became aware that there are a great many illiterate people, even now, who can reel off thousands of verses of Rumi and Hafez and Ferdowsi, the Book of Kings, the old epic narrative of Persia. And literate people in amazing feats of memorization that we just couldn't begin unless we're trained actors to match. So, where was I?
That's the role
yeah.
Participation.
Right, participation. So then moving on from there, you get, let's say, take another leap now to the 19th century drama with proscenium stage that separates the players from the audience. And almost everything is done for the audience. Everything is re-presented to the audience. All the audience is asked to do is to be there and to react. You don't have to imagine anything really in realistic 19th century proscenium stage drama because it's realistic. It doesn't want you to imagine anything. It wants to represent reality. So a great deal more passivity is involved and a lot less imaginal quanta, little packets of imagination. You're charged fewer of those to participate in theater. Then let's take another leap to movies. Now we don't even have real people, so there's no possibility of a living relationship. We're looking at actual representations of representation. We're even farther removed. However, there's still the fact that we have to physically get up and go out of our homes and go to the movie theater. There's still the aspect that Nick and Jerry talked about of I'm sure they talked about the actual luminous presence. Unlike television, which is not luminously present in the same ways, there's no translucency to it. So that and the whole idea of montage in film is actually a way to engage the imagination of the viewer and make you subconsciously fill in what's been cut out in order to produce the montage. In other words, scene one fade to scene two. Well, all those characters in real life would have had to do such and such and such, and our imagination fills that in, usually unconsciously. So actually, when primitive tribes people are asked to look at movies for the first time, they have a fucking idea what's going on. So there's an incredibly elaborate language of montage that Sergei Eisenstein first wrote about theoretically. He's a great Russian filmmaker. And then finally we take the jump to television and even more, actually now we have something newer, virtual reality, in which you're not even there. You are not even there. The audience, in fact, has been removed from the story. You're not physically there. No smell, no taste, no touch, only illusion of sight is all that's left. So there's no role for the imagination at all, as far as I can see. So this may sound like a reactionary theory of the arts, like we must, or a Luddite theory of the arts, that if we destroy technology, we'll somehow manage to recreate the imagination. It's not what I mean at all. I'm simply pointing out that there's a psychostructural analysis that can be made of media on the basis of the amount of imagination which is required of the audience, to the point where artist and audience can become one. And I think that there's a natural tendency to want that state. It's natural to want to be creative because, as you probably have learned, people are happy when they're creative. People are not happy when they're just consuming. They're just vegged out, you know. You can be not unhappy. That's why people look at TV so much, so they don't have to be unhappy. But it's just like low-grade heroin, you know. It doesn't get you off. You don't cop any nods, man. It's like, you know, it's just not good stuff. So it's, I feel that every child is a good artist. Have you ever noticed? What happens around the age of the old rites of passage, around puberty, the time when primitive societies would have a rite of passage? What happens to us that most of us lose, that it seem to lose the ability? It isn't the ability that's been lost, it's the will to the ability, the will to have that ability that's been eradicated. And we're the freaks that it didn't work on. You know, we're the freaks that education didn't take on. Because education is about eradicating the imagination. Education in our society is a preparation for the prison of work, and nothing else. You know, if you happen to pick up a few interesting facts along the way, that's your business. The main purpose of education is to socialize you to be part of the system of control. Period.
Look at the structure of it. I mean, most of
Yes.
education is learning that structure of watching the clock, of being at the right desk, of being at the right place, and sitting in the right place in the room.
There's a really interesting book that just came out by John Gatto. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's from.
Yeah, this sort of art.
It's called Dumbing. Yeah,
Yeah.
the 7 lessons.
Oh, dumbing, the guy
Dumbing
dumbing
is-
down.
yeah.
Dumbing down, yeah, I love that.
Hey.
Actually, a friend of mine was told
Right.
by his publisher, a novelist friend of mine was actually told by his publisher to dumb it down. So I mean, this is in so many words, you know. This stuff is too smart. Dumb it down.
He actually might be coming to, I wrote him a letter, because I know I used to go see you, and we might be bringing him to see you speak. So
I haven't read this guy's work, so I don't know what part of the political spectrum he falls out on, but a lot of these people actually turn out to be reactionary neoconservatives, which bothers me.
Yeah.
he's, no,
You know,
he's-
they actually nostalgize about a past where people were forced to learn Latin, god damn it.
Like Bloom.
That was quality.
No.
Yeah, I don't think he is.
He's exactly what you just said about the education system. Is what he said. Pre-thought thoughts, like the job of the citizen is to choose which pre-thought thoughts, which
Yeah.
received opinions. they
One from
like
column A
best.
and one from
And
column
that's
B.
what you regard as your intellectual achievement, whatever
Right.
pre-thought
Yeah.
thoughts you have decided to select
Yeah.
rather than any real thinking.
Right. Lifestyle. I call it the lifestyle
Yeah.
system of education, because you don't have a life, you have a lifestyle.
And one of the main premises he works on within the educational system, he says students are taught not to be creative or interested in their own imagination by the
God
bell.
forbid, yeah.
They'll be working on something, you know, and then the bell will ring, you know, and they have to go on to the next thing. So that teaches them that what they're learning at that moment isn't important. It's not, you know.
Right, their own process to be violated at any time, and then they have to just get up and move
Right,
to the next thing.
right.
So it's a real.
Right. Marched to death.
What's his name again?
John Gatto.
Gatto?
Yeah, Gatto.
Again, I haven't read him, so I don't know, but a lot of these ideas sound like they might come from Ivan Illich, who's also well worth reading, especially his book, Deschooling Society, ILLICH. If you can find it, you might have to go to a library to get it. I think it's in print.
So how do you think that it's possible to reverse, like, the impoverished, you know, quality of a society?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to suggest that everybody write one page solution to the problems of poetry.
Okay.
No, seriously.